In this episode, Winter Storm Elliot will be a very powerful Christmas cyclone as it impacts millions of residents, just in time for the holiday travel on Wednesday through Sunday, bringing blizzard conditions to thousands, if not millions. Then it's looking very likely that millions will also be impacted by a near-historic Arctic outbreak as temperatures plummet down to as low as -30 degrees with wind chills as low as -60 degrees. Good morning, everyone. It is your weather enthusiast David Schlotthauer here. Before I do get started with the video, if you are new to the YouTube channel and you really like these detailed weather videos, please consider hitting the red subscribe button, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your family and friends on social media. So here's a look at the latest European global computer model for December the 20th, 2022 on this beautiful Tuesday morning, and this forecast is for Wednesday afternoon as we are tracking major, significant, extreme winter storm Elliot that's going to bring quite a bit of snowfall over portions of the upper Midwest, the Midwest, with big time snow and blizzard conditions very likely now for the Great Lakes, and we could be looking at definitely some gale force and storm force winds in the Great Lakes. So big time problems coming, unfortunately, in time for Christmas travel. So if you're doing anything outdoors on Wednesday, do so early on, and then Thursday and Friday, your time runs out to do anything outdoors. If you're going to a family member's house, if you're going anywhere, traveling across the states and stuff to visit family, it's going to be bad. All right. So now, looking at the forecast here for Thursday morning, you can see light to moderate snowfall over the Rockies as that cold front sweeps through. Over Wisconsin, we're looking at light to moderate snowfall as indicated there in the blue. A little bit of rain out ahead of this if you're in Indiana. If you're in the deep south, part of the warm air advection, that's going to be increasing out ahead of the system, and that's going to set the dynamics here for what's to come Thursday night. So by Thursday early afternoon, there is the snow. It's over Iowa. It is over Oklahoma. Primarily this area right in here is where the snow could be pretty heavy. We could be looking at snowfall rates on the order of 1 to 4 inches per hour at a brief period of time as that snow really gets going. Over St. Louis, Missouri, if you're in Illinois, that's what the model indicates. And this continues all the way into the Ohio Valley. So by Thursday night, this is what it looks like here. Definitely a stormy one into early Friday morning. Look at these isobars. This is very tight pressure gradient, huge pressure difference on top of heavy snowfall. That's going to lead to blizzard conditions. It is no surprise right now that there wouldn't be any blizzard warnings issued out of this because of the snowfall. We're going to have everything needed for a blizzard, including for Michigan here. The winds are going to get ferocious up there, including for the Pennsylvania. Wait until you see the rest of the model here for this winter storm. So going all the way into Friday morning, this is what it's looking like. Again, very heavy snow continuing. Downright stormy conditions are anticipated over Indiana, over Michigan, over the Ohio Valley, West Virginia. This continues into Christmas Eve. So if you're doing, again, any traveling, do not do it if you're in the Great Lakes, because we're going to have some very heavy lake effect snow continuing out of that. And that snow and storm really tapers off by the time we get into Christmas Day, with any areas here that could still have some pretty hefty lake effect snow that the European model doesn't pick up very well. So now we're going to compare models. We're looking at the GFS model solution right now because, again, this is how I am more accurate. This is how I'm more reliable as far as these winter storms go as well when I track these. So we can see here by Thursday afternoon, there again it is. It's a little faster here, not by much, but pretty decently there within the timing range. You can see though, dark blue colors indicate quite a bit of snow that is going to be coming down. All right, and that's going to be the strong winds, blizzard conditions. And then the GFS model has a surface low a little bit further to the east, and that's what makes the difference here. Maybe the heaviest snow doesn't linger around the Chicago, the Indianapolis, the Kokomo area. If you're in Cincinnati, if you're in Cleveland, Ohio, definitely keep that in mind. If the surface low really moves slowly, you're going to get a lot of snow out of this system, and this continues all the way to Friday. So Friday looks stormy in Michigan, also along the Great Lakes, and then eventually by the time we go into Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day, still quite a bit of lake effect snow that is anticipated out of pretty substantial, huge winter storm Elliot. We're going to have a big detailed update. Here's a look at those latest snowfall totals. According to the latest European global computer model, a numerical model that I love to use a lot in these videos, and we can see quite a bit of snowfall is anticipated. Now, a couple of questions are regarding Kachira versus the 10-in-1 ratio. The reason why I'm using Kachira is a lot of this snow is going to be falling on the very cold side of the system. So your snowfall accumulations are likely to double and triple versus a wet snow, a more heavy, really juicy snow in other words, right? So we're not going to use a 10-in-1 ratio for that reasoning, because a lot of the snow, again, is going to be being flung on the cold side where temperatures are in the single digits, where it's negative, and therefore snowfall accumulates a little more efficiently and quickly. It's more powdery, it's more dry in nature. Okay, so hopefully that cleared everything up with confusion between the 10-in-1 ratio and the Kachira, and that's why I'm using this. So we can see snowfall totals based on this methodology between about 8 to 12 inches in a wide range of areas like Iowa, if you're in say portions there of the Dakotas, if you're in Wisconsin, 12 to 18 inches of snowfall, and in some areas where it could get lake effect snow on the backside of this, could get as much as possibly, let me back this out a little bit, you might even see as much as perhaps 1 to 2 feet of snowfall. If you're in central northern Indiana, maybe 1 to 2 feet of snow. But there has been, again, some significant changes as far as who is going to get the heaviest snow and where is it going to be. There's been some changes with the global numerical models as far as who's going to get on it, who's going to get the lightest, who's going to get the most, right? So that's why we make these videos every day. If we have to, 2 times a day, because every progressing 6 hours, these models render and we get a different output of data. Okay, so hopefully that clears things up too. So now looking at the GFS Kachira forecast as far as, again, snow, comparing 2 of the numerical models, we can see the GFS has lesser snowfall. Actually, let me forward this in a little bit more. All the way through Christmas Day, again, little lesser over Indiana versus, again, the European model that has more snow, say for Indianapolis, for Kokomo, Indiana, has lesser snow for these areas on the GFS model, likely because it's a little further east and maybe a little faster and not much moisture with the system. All right. A little more snow for Wisconsin, but still a little lesser than the European model. We can see, again, lesser on the GFS. And also about the same on both of the models if you're in Iowa and Missouri. So still could look at almost 6 inches of snow if you're in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're in Kansas City, you could still get at about 3 to 5 inches of snowfall. A very impactful, juicy system that you definitely need to be aware of. And of course, in the Great Lakes, the rest of it, if you're in West Virginia, if you're in, say, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, pretty big variety of snowfall totals here, anywhere between 5 inches in some areas versus in the mountainous terrain and the lake effect snow prone areas, could see possibly 1.5 to 3 feet in some areas. That's quite a bit with this winter storm, and that's because of all the cold air that comes through. Now, when we look at the latest European model over the same area, we can see it doesn't do much with snow down here in West Virginia. A little lesser, and also certainly a lot lesser if you're downstream of the Great Lakes here. Likely because, again, it doesn't sample lake effect snow as well as the GFS does. So now, another big feature that this winter storm is going to have is the wind. We already have talked about the pressure, the tightening gradient. That's one thing. The wind adds on to the fact why the pressure gradient is tight, right? Because that's going to make the wind stronger. So when we forward this through on the European model, we can see how strong these winds actually are, ripping down across the Midwest, from the northern plains all the way down across the deep south, into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast. Winds here anywhere between 25 to 40 miles an hour. Once the bombing cyclone gets underway, though, for the Great Lakes here, winds could be 35 to near 50 miles an hour in central northern Indiana, central northern Ohio. Primarily, my concern here, if we go into the Great Lakes region, it is going to be this area right here when we go forward. See this whole streak of very strong winds here due to lower friction potential. Winds here, again, 35 to near 50 miles an hour. Some of the Great Lakes here could have winds approaching hurricane force. How about that? That is pretty substantial. You can see it here over Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, 63 knots. That is very close or at hurricane intensity. So that's really going to cause a lot of downed trees, a lot of power outages. Even if you're in Erie, Pennsylvania, could see some big time wind damage and heavy snowfall out of this winter storm. So keep that in mind, Justin Maniki, if you're in the Erie, Pennsylvania area, this is a big deal for your area. A lot of snow for you and some strong winds. Now, another feature that this winter storm is going to have with it is, we've got a very pretty painted picture. Say thank you to the National Weather Service for doing this, because this is not just a painted picture of warnings. This is downright serious. We are talking a pretty big area. I mean, a huge area of wind chill advisories, wind chill warnings. Yeah, these down here are even wind chill watches. The cold air is going to be the biggest deal with this winter storm. Yes, the snow, the blizzards, you name it, that's going to be the big deal too. But the cold air coming in on the backside of this will also be the big deal, possibly breaking near historic records for the coldest wind chill values ever recorded in some states like Montana, the Dakotas, even for portions of Wyoming. I don't think we're going to see all-time historic record low daytime or whatever air temperatures, okay? The difference here is the wind chills will be the ones that we probably will break all-time records with. Wind chill warnings, wind chill advisories, wind chill watches all the way down here across Oklahoma, northern Texas, Kansas, winter storm watches already painted. Man, this is really big. All right. And then, of course, you got wind chill advisories up here, wind chill warnings, winter storm warnings, high wind watches. I mean, there's just a lot of watches, warnings, not much in the way of advisories at all, because it's not going to be advising. It's a warning. It's a watch. This is something that we don't typically see in the month of December. Especially, this is going to coincide on the shortest day of the year. Okay, that means the sun angle is lowest, and so that's why we're going to get this cold air coming out of Canada. All right, so keep that in mind. Again, wind chill warnings, wind chills as low as negative 60 degrees. Yeah, I'm placing my bets on that, especially for Montana. And speaking of that, let's take a look here at the European model as far as those wind chill values go, because these wind chills are immense. I'm being serious, folks. These wind chills are going to be downright serious enough to where they can be deadly if not taken seriously. As such, you can get frostbite as little as 2 minutes in some of these areas. So you can't even be outside to get in the car or to go into the garage to get your car out, because the cold air is going to seep through there. And you just can't do anything because This Arctic air mass is going to just be unbearable. It's going to be brutal out there, folks. So here's a look at the, this is the look at the air temperature forecast for Thursday morning. Look at this. These are air temperatures, not wind chills. Wait until you see those in a second. -20 to -35 degrees. Some areas could even have temperatures as low as -45 degrees. That would be some of these areas here in central portion there of Wyoming, in western Montana. The areas that I've circled in could have some of the coldest temperatures, could see historic lows potentially. Doesn't surprise me. That might be on the deck of cards, but for sure, all-time record low wind chills. Yeah, big time. Okay. So negative temperatures stretching all the way across the northern plains at this point, but it's going to get more widespread. Take a look at this map when we forward it by, let's go into Friday. Yeah, let's go into Friday morning. You can see temperatures -10, -15. Now, if you're in Minnesota, if you're in the Dakotas, this probably won't be as big of a deal because you're used to these temperatures, right? But areas like northern portion of Arkansas, if you're in Oklahoma, northern Texas, this is a big deal. You are seeing single digit temperatures that far south, okay? Even in Tennessee, you can have temperatures as low as, say, 0 degrees in the morning. That is pretty substantial. If you're in central Indiana, if you're in central Ohio, -2 to -10 degrees to start your Friday morning. So if you have anything to do outside, do not do it. It's going to be cold, it's going to be windy, and that's going to lead to, again, some serious, immense, extreme wind chills. This continues all the way through Saturday, even through Sunday in Minnesota. It's going to be a long haul, folks, for these wind chills, for these very cold temperatures. Now, speaking of wind chills, here's a look at Thursday's morning's wind chills. Take a look at this. We're talking -40, -50, couple of -60s on there, and rarely, there's a plot down here, by the way. You can see 66 degrees below zero are some of the wind chills right here in Montana, as well as in, say, portions there of, say, Wyoming. Big time cold, folks. All right, lots of 50s out here below zero with wind chills. This is going to continue for a while. I mean, 40s. 40 degree below zero wind chills extend all the way down here, possibly across Indiana, if you're in Illinois, if you're in Iowa, if you're in Minnesota. This is definitely a big deal. So very, very cold air, folks. Nothing to mess around with at all. Temperatures could be as much as 35 to 55 to close to 60 degrees below average, okay? Again, 35 to maybe perhaps 50 degrees in many areas, but isolated areas could have temperatures as low as 60 degrees below average, which again would be very close or at historic levels, okay? So this is an Arctic air mass to not mess with at all. And this continues all the way across much of the eastern half of the U.S. with those apparent temperatures that could feel like -5, -10, -15, perhaps again, -30 plus there in Indiana and Ohio. Now, before I do end the video, I do have a couple of quick announcements to share with you all that are pretty important and that you need to definitely stay tuned for. Is, again, this evening at about 5 to maybe 6 o'clock, I am going to have one of the longer videos out. We're going to go into super in-depth detail on Winter Storm Elliot as it begins to develop by Wednesday and tracks across the Midwest into the Great Lakes, brings significant impacts. This is going to be an in-depth video that will probably be about 25 to 30 minutes long. I rarely do these, but I feel like it's best because this system is going to be impacting thousands and millions of people. And then, of course, I'm going to have a weather briefing in Weather Force Discord server on this winter storm at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. In my Weather Force Discord server, there's a link to that server in the description below this video. But until next time, thank you all for watching. Make sure you share this with your family and friends on social media. It really helps out a lot. And also leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got to get this out to as many people as we can possible, because at the end of the day, not just me, but other weather YouTubers out there are saving people's lives of this huge tragic, or not tragic, I should say, but a huge, massive, extreme winter storm that is coming that will bring Arctic air that has never been experienced in some areas before, on top of very heavy snowfall. Thank you all for watching. Be back with you this evening with another detailed update.